You are Locked On Marlins POSTCAST, part of Locked On Sports Miami on the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
What is up, Fish fans? Welcome to your Locked On Marlins POSTCAST. My name is Jim Grieshaber. Call me Grease. And we are here after every Marlins game. And I have to give you a little apology. My equipment had a little trouble today, so you have a close-up view of this face. The camera all of a sudden decided not to work. I don't know if my face broke it. I mean, that's kind of what I figured would happen eventually in life, is my face would break the camera. But I'm not real sure about this right now. I'm not real sure what's going on here. But I know for sure that the Marlins had a great game today, one of their best games of the season, and I am here to tell you all about it, and I cannot wait. I'm pumped to do so every single day here on Locked On Marlins POSTCAST as we continue to bring you coverage of this team. And the record since the deadline's at 3-2. The record since the All-Star break's been pretty good, not great, but 3-2 is good, and the All-Star break, they haven't lost a series yet. The streak is intact. Mets, Brewers, Orioles, Braves, you know what I mean? And they got the Reds coming in now. So they're playing better. They're definitely playing better. And, they're going to be a pretty good team in the long term. And then you get to see what you get back from these trades and the different pieces that you brought in and so forth. Give me just a second. I got to put this in the TV behind me. Forgot to do that live during the show here. Okay, there we go. Sorry, guys. Something went wrong with the other system that I had. Sometimes there's ghosts and goblins in these things. I have to be honest with you. Literally ghosts and goblins everywhere. Everywhere you go, ghosts and goblins, because there's no other explanation how some days, like, the electronics just don't work. They just don't work. And you have to improvise. It's one best thing about today's society. You can improvise all day long. You really can. And that's what I'm doing right now. Boom. See, there we go. More than one way to skin a cat, although I've said this before, and I don't know why anyone would ever want to skin a cat, right? Why would you ever want to skin a cat? So you have the close-up now, and you have the backup on the TV. So we have two ways to do that and two ways to do the other. So that was a nice little way to get things going here today. But we got you here on Locked On Marlins POSTCAST. I'll try to make that a little smaller for you. And minimal, well, that's about as good as we're going to do. But, hey, day in and day out, you everydayers know. We got a nice camera sitting there. And a lot of the guys and girls, let me see if I can adjust this here. We just, at this point, wanted to get on and get the show done. There we go. Check that out. Check out Edward Cabrera, will you please? Check out my man with a great performance today on the mound for the Miami Marlins. And that's something that, you haven't said very much about starting pitching this season for the Marlins. You just haven't. And it's with good reason, right? With good reason. It's been an abysmal year across the board, and you start the season with a 9-game losing streak, and then you go with a 6 and a couple of 5ers, and you know how that goes, right? I mean, it's just been a bad year. Last year, they were, 34-11 in one-run games or something like that? Literally 34-11 in one-run games. Real quick, all right, there it is. All right. Thank you very much for making Locked On Marlins POSTCAST your first listen every day. We're free. We're available wherever you get your podcasts, plus right here on YouTube, Locked On Sports Miami, even with the ugly face and the close-up. I know, it's the best we can do. Lipstick on a pig. There's not enough lipstick for this pig. But very happy that you watch me every day and you watch us every day, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. And today's show is brought to you by our really good friends at Prize Picks. Prize Picks is awesome. The easiest and most exciting way to play daily fantasy sports is Prize Picks. Go to prizepicks.com/LockedOnMLB and use code, you know the deal, all lowercase, LOCKEDONMLB, Locked On MLB, for a first deposit match up to $100 with Prize Picks. All right, moving right along, Locked On Marlins POSTCAST, again with the ugly face on the close-up. You have to love it, though. I mean, at least I'm not as ugly as I've been in the past. I've been a lot uglier in the past, and I look a lot better now, trust me. I think the bald head was a good move. But, hey, real quick, I just want to show you guys, too. Check that out right there. You got the U for Devin Hester and Andre Johnson. How about our guys? We have Locked On Canes POSTCAST coming your way in football season, as well as Locked On Dolphins POSTCAST. We have the regular shows, the Locked-Ons, and those guys do a tremendous job. Big football year here in Miami. Tua with the big contract. Waddle, Tyreek Hill. They could have their own 4x100 relay team with alternates with the Dolphins. And then, of course, Yeah, the U, baby. That's my alma mater. It's going to be a good year for Mario Cristobal and company. Really excited about that. We'll be here with your Locked On Canes and Dolphins postcast, as well as the Heat in basketball season, and that really pumps me up because I'm excited about that. And this shot doesn't look all that bad, does it? I mean, I get spoiled every day with a 4K camera, but it almost reminds me of the old days when cameras didn't really show every little feature, and they added 10 pounds, and you had to wear makeup, and the lights were 1,000 degrees, and oh my Lord, the world is so much better now. It is so much better now, and it's better today for you, Miami Marlins fan, because a 7-0 shutout win over the Atlanta Braves. You out-hit them 9-6. The Braves are not a good offensive team, so you want your pitching to get good and get healthy and get better real fast. Play the Braves, but the Marlins had a 6-run fourth inning today. The Marlins had not had a 6-run inning. Oh, my Lord. I don't even think they had a 6-run inning all year. I have to check that officially, but I don't think they've had a 6-run inning all year. I really haven't had many 6-run games or more, as a matter of fact. I'm going to dig into this later in the show. Let me write this down. Someone get in the chat and remind me, please. I'm going to remind you of this later. How many times the Marlins have scored 6-run innings this year? And the Braves actually had a run taken off the board tonight, too, on a replay. Good job by Skip. So preserve the shutout, and that's where I'm going to start. I'm going to start with the pitchers because Edward Cabrera, easy Edward, baby, easy Edward. You see the headline there, and he was fantastic tonight. Easy Edward, and Jonah Bride, we'll get to him in a minute. But Edward Cabrera, 2-3 on the season. ERA is dropping down. This dude, just like Roddery Munoz, who will pitch tomorrow against the Reds, Edward Cabrera throws gas, right? He's got the four-seamer, he's got the cutter, he's got the sinker, all very heavy. Strikeout pitches, can't do much with them, get in on the hands, break the bats, pop them up, little bloopers, flares. He was on his game today. He only threw 98 pitches in 5 innings. I say only, but he was very good. He 8 strikeouts today, only 3 hits, no runs. Then the bullpen took it from there. 3 relievers. How about that? Ramirez, Tinoco, Soriano, all New Jacks, all of them, 4 innings, 3 hits, 2 strikeouts, no runs. So the bullpen has been great all year. Nardi, Cronin, you know what I mean? Puck and Scott, who are gone. Brazoban, who's gone. Chagua, who's gone. Boucher, who's still here. You know what I'm saying, right? So, and Hoying's gone. But now with these new guys, Ramirez, Tinoco, Soriano, it's nice to see them coming in and making an appearance and getting the outs and getting it done for this team. It was fantastic to see them do that today because they're new guys, and you don't know what you got back with the prospects. You could talk about all the guys they traded, but let's be real. Jazz Chisholm's a .250 hitter. Josh Bell wasn't doing anything all year. You have to look at the flip side of those trades. I never would have traded Jazz, and I never would have traded Luis Ariz or Tanner Scott. Everyone else, let's be real. Let's be real. I mean, none of those guys could ever afford to unpack their suitcase, could they? I mean, just to be honest with you, I don't see it. I don't see it. Now, you could make the argument that with this team they had, and then you bring in one big gun in the middle of the offense next year, and Alcantara comes back, and Tanner Scott, if you could sign him. There's a lot of ifs there. If Berger and Bell could get going, you bring in one big bat in the middle of the lineup with the rotation, with Luzardo, with Weathers, Alcantara coming back, Max Meyer. You could be a playoff team next year. You could be. Could have been, I should say. Could have been, you know what I mean? Could have been. Could have been. Don't really matter, but they kind of do to the person who could have been. And the Marlins are in that category right now, but the pitching staff has been just, especially the bullpen, has been phenomenal for Miami. And then you look at the Marlins offensively. Xavier Edwards is the best leadoff hitter they've had since Ariz left. They tried Jazz there. They tried Dane Myers there. They tried a bunch of people there. Xavier Edwards, 2 for 5 tonight, RBI and a run scored. But more so than that, ladies and gentlemen, Xavier Edwards has a 22-game streak of reaching base. I think it's 22, might be 21, and he has now a 7-game hitting streak, I want to say, 6 or 7. So he's had an amazing run at the top of the order. He's hitting .382. Not officially qualified yet, but .382. Berger in the 2-hole, 0 for 3 today. First time in over a week he had an 0 for. Did drive in a run, though. 10 ribbies in just over a week for Jake Berger. And Jonah Bride, 3 home runs this week and 2 this series as the cleanup hitter, the first baseman getting it done. Here comes the Bride, all dressed in teal. Jesus Sanchez, 0 for 5 today. That's a tough day for him. Rivera was 2 for 4 with a run scored. Everybody else had a hit. Lopez, Pache, Hensley, and Sanchez, all of them had hits. So they were getting it done top to bottom today. And the Braves are just miserable. Ozuna, doesn't Ozuna look like the dude on a Little League team who hits 20 home runs and no one else has one and they go winless? He's like the only guy in that lineup who hits. Soler is .235. He had a big year, you remember, for the Marlins last year. But right now in that lineup, the only guy who's hitting for Atlanta is Ozuna, and it's been all year, 339 homers. Riley was 3 for 4 today. He's coming on. Olsen, you wonder. He's hitting 226. You wonder when he's going to get going for Atlanta. I just did a couple shows this weekend with Atlanta people and talking to Atlanta people about the Braves, and just really excited because the Marlins were playing the Braves too and getting some inside intel on the Braves. And the one thing that everybody tells me, they can't hit. They just can't hit. And when a guy like Max Fried comes back, remember he felt the tinge in the arm in the All-Star game, and, he's an All-Star pitcher, but today he didn't look like one. 3 1/3, 4 hits, 5 earned runs, 6 strikeouts for Fried. He's always going to have the strikeouts. Jackson, bummer. It was a bummer for Bummer. 3 hits and an earned run. That's too easy. Jackson, same thing, 2 hits and an earned run. They got to the relievers as much as they did the starter, and they beat an All-Star starter today. Regardless of what you say about Fried coming off the IL, didn't look like himself, lost it in the 4th inning. It was all about the 4th inning for the Miami Marlins. Marlins 7, Braves zip. Look at this. The Braves took the first 2 games. The Marlins get the split. They haven't lost a series since the All-Star break. And you're talking Orioles. You're talking Brewers. You're talking good teams in that mix. The Mets, who are as hot as anybody in baseball right now. Did you see what happened with them last night? Joyce on the Angels threw a 104.7-mile-an-hour fastball to strike out J.D. Martinez and end the game. The fastest strikeout pitch that was thrown for a 3rd strike in the history of Major League Baseball. The 3rd fastest pitch of all time. Aroldis Chapman over 105 in 2012 is the fastest. So crazy. But the races are heating up. The former Marlins are everywhere. We're going to keep you updated on them too, because, you still have your jerseys, right? They might be collector. They might be at Goodwill in a while, but they also might become collector's items. Who knows? That's up to those players. But whoever's here right now, all these prospects coming in, you don't know them. The payroll is second to last in the league. We know all that. But that's not their fault. They deserve your fandom. They deserve your attention. They deserve your love even, because they play hard every day, and they're out there busting it for you day in and day out, and that's what we do here on the Locked On Podcast Network with Locked On Marlins POSTCAST and Locked On Marlins. Jim Grieshaber, call me Grease. It's break time. I'm a little late for the break. Wow, 2 minutes went by in the blink of an eye. Don't say anything. All right, anyway, I'll tell you this. One thing that I really love about being here at the Locked On Podcast Network, we have some dope sponsors for you guys, and I'm proud every single day to talk to you about the companies who help us keep going, but also bring you these are great companies bringing you amazing deals on their products and their services through us. So let's get to that. When we come back on the other side, talk a little bit more about that 6-run 4th for the Marlins, Jonah Bride, dun, 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 all dressed in teal. On the other side, Locked On Marlins Postcast. I'm Jim Grieshaber. Call me Grease on the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day. And you know what time it is. Every single time I get fired up because it's summertime, and you know how it is in South Florida, right? It's crazy. You got tropical storms coming everywhere. You got the humidity, and I'm always forgetting to stay hydrated. So one thing that really helps me is when I can use a product that helps me stay hydrated. You know what I mean? Just packs in the electrolytes and all those other things, bonuses like vitamins and minerals. And then you just stir it into a drink, and it'll hydrate you so much more than just regular water. Because if you're forgetting your water, and then you got to drink 73,000 gallons of water just to be hydrated, maybe not quite 73,000, that would kill you. But you know the deal, right? You don't want to do that. So when you're taking in America's pastime, remember to stay hydrated, and to do it easily, Liquid IV is the way to go. Their popsicle firecracker flavor is a surefire summertime hit, and Peter Piper picked a pickled peppers. Get hydrated with electrolytes, essential vitamins, and clinically tested nutrients from the number one powdered hydration brand in America, because baseball and summer go together like Liquid IV and indulgent hydration. That's right. Blast off the iconic summer flavor of popsicle firecracker. A festive blend of citrus-fueled lemon, lime, tart cherry, and raspberry flavors. If that's not your cup of hydration, you see what I did there. Find all your favorite flavors on their website. Acai berry, which is my favorite, lemon lime, and the pina colada. Getting caught in the rain, South Florida, there's a good chance that'll happen, right? Tear, pour, live more. 1 stick plus 16 ounces of water hydrates better than water alone. You heard what I said earlier. Get that in. You know, it's all about economizing in this world. And you're talking about 3 times the electrolytes of the leading sports drink, 8 essential vitamins and nutrients, always non-GMO, vegan, gluten-free, dairy-free, and soy-free. All the things I am, and you should be too. No more thirsty summers when you indulge in hydration with Liquid IV. Get 20% off your first order of Liquid IV when you go to liquidiv.com and use code MLB at checkout. That's 20% off your first order when you shop for better hydration today using promo code MLB at liquidiv.com. on the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Jim Grieshaber, call me Grease, at Jim Grease _ on social media. 7-zip, the Marlins beat the Braves, and what a game it was today, guys. What a game. That 6-run fourth inning, they've been putting pressure. The one thing about the Marlins is they swing at everything. They're reckless at the plate. They don't take, I told you, if I'm the manager and hitting coach of this team, all I say is Skip Schumacher, line them all up and say, anyone who swings, pull a Bill Belichick when they were losing 28-3 at halftime. If anyone looks at the scoreboard, you're coming out and not going back in. And he looked at Brady when he said it, okay? Now, with the Marlins, it's not just looking at the scoreboard. That's not what you need to do. You're not looking at the scoreboard. It's anyone who doesn't take a first pitch strike, you're not playing again. Remember Little League, Babe Ruth, high school? Your coach said take it. I was a first pitch hitter, and I hated it when my coach said take until you get a strike, because I interpret it to mean, hey, until that pitch is coming over the plate, that's a strike. No, until you have a strike in the count. That would really help this team's discipline. I don't know why they're not doing that, because they're reckless, they're waving at everything up there, and it really costs them. It costs them a lot, and they're lucky the Braves can't hit. They were able to salvage this split over the weekend, but 7 runs on 9 hits is nothing to sneeze at, and we will dig a little deeper later in the show and look at some of the games earlier in the year and how many times they've had 6-run innings or even 6-run games. What a year it's been for this team offensively. One of the worst offensive teams, production-wise, maybe in the history of Major League Baseball. But they give you glimpses like Edwards and Rivera and then Jonah Bride with the big home run today. And thank God for the White Sox, right? The 20 consecutive losses, the White Sox making history, the Orioles in the American League in 1988, and then the Phillies 23 in a row in I think 1961 is the Major League record that the White Sox are chasing. They're really good. And Jerry Reinsdorf, by the way, could never lose enough. You ruin the 90s Bulls, you should be banned to losing purgatory forever. And actually, he has been ever since then. So karma is real. But the Marlins win 7-0 today. And we told you before the break that we were going to take a peek, and that was a dope inning. So we really need to look at that fourth inning for Miami today with those 6 runs. They just jumped all over the Braves. And you know something? After you lose the first couple games of that series, and then you come back and win the next 2, that's pretty special, because you've done it with the Mets, you've done it with the Brewers, you've done it with the Orioles, and look at this. And you got the Reds, got a homestand coming up. It could be a tough one, too. The Phillies are in there, some tough teams coming in. But let's take a look at that fourth inning for the Marlins. This is the type of inning that they've been lacking all year long. They haven't had very many innings like this. It's been very rare. They had a couple. Remember when they had the 5-run comeback against the Mets, and usually it's been late in games, and late inning magic, comeback wins, things like that. But not today, and that was encouraging, right? So they're starting to tinker and find. I think they found their leadoff guy in Edwards, but in the fourth it was Emmanuel Rivera, as it was all day today. He's got a lot of tools in the toolbox, and he knows how to use them. And that's something that I really like about this team. He singled to lead off the fourth. Otto Lopez, low-key, has been good this year for Miami. Low-key putting together a solid season at second base. I mean, he's hitting .227 because he had a terrible stretch. But out of that and before that, he was pretty good at the dish, and he's solid in the field. All right, so you have Lopez walks and Rivera goes to second. And then one of the new guys comes in and an RBI single. And then Hensley, of course, struck out swinging. A lot of these guys are new guys now, so they're just coming in the team. Then Anibal Sanchez, I said it again, Anibal Sanchez, the old pitcher. Sanchez grounds into the fielder's choice. Lopez scores. And that was, interesting since he came up, by the way, and they've released, I can't remember, I'm having a blank at who they released earlier this year behind the plate, but you know what I mean? It's Fortes most games behind there. And, of course, they got Agustin Ramirez, the just all-world prospect from the New York Yankees. But Ali Sanchez has done a solid job back there when he's been in the lineup. Fielder's choice, RBI, doing his job there, right? Pushing the run across, make it 2-zip. Infield single from Edwards. So how about that? A fielder's choice, an infield single, and those things are really helping with them. And you throw the walk in there, too. So a walk, a fielder's choice, an infield single. That is what's called manufacturing runs. That's how you do it. That's textbook. That's how you win in Major League Baseball. You're not always going to have a ton of hits. You're not going to get the doubles and triples and the homers in those big games all the time. If you look at the lineups up and down Major League Baseball right now, how many of them are literally stacked up and down with 220, 230, 240 hitters? Those guys would have never been in the big leagues 20 years ago. If you hit 220, you are not in the big leagues. You're gone. Gone. And so many teams are full of them up and down the rosters. And the only thing I can say to that, I talked about it with Joyce earlier, 104.7, the pitching has gotten absurd. I used to think I could at least foul one off against a major league pitcher or even a guy like Randy Johnson, which was stupid on my part, I admit. But I couldn't touch any of these guys now. These sweepers and these 96-mile-an-hour sinkers and, oh, my God, man. It's absurd what has happened and how far the game has evolved, and the batting averages just aren't there. So that made it 3-0. Edwards, the infield single. Berger does what Berger does. He struck out looking, and sorry, Jake, I love you, man, but it is what it is. Dave Kingman of the Miami Marlins. Look it up if you don't know. And then Jonah Bride. Dun, 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 dun. Bang. It wasn't a deep shot, but Jonah Bride goes yard in Atlanta. Sanchez and Edwards score. And the best thing about that, it's 6-0 Marlins. Cakewalk from there, and Cabrera he came out right then in the bottom of the fourth, struck out the first two hitters and had a 1-2-3 inning. So not only do you have a 6-run inning and then a 1-2-3 inning right after that. And that, my friend, is how you win baseball games. That is how you become a very good baseball team. You score a bunch of runs and you shut the other team down. It's not that hard. It's not rocket science. The Marlins put a lot of pressure on the Braves in the next inning, too, unable to get anything across. But it was that one inning. And then later on in the game, Jake Berger, sacrifice fly, scores Hensley, who had a good day today. And it's 7-0. Just call that the extra point, right? Call that the extra point. And the Dolphins and Falcons play each other on Friday night in the preseason. Shout out to Tua, Tyreek Hill, and Waddle, man. I just would like to do anything for them that pays me a percentage. Anything that pays me a percentage for those three guys. Not to mention the Dolphins have a 4x100 relay team. Man, and alternates, as a matter. They're the fastest team in the NFL this year. That's going to be fun to watch. Your Miami Dolphins, Locked On Dolphins postcast tease. But 7-0, they added the extra point with Berger's sacrifice fly, and the fans in Atlanta are literally disgusted. 33,146 go home with a pit in their stomach because they have a shot to catch the fledgling Phillies right now, and they are not taking advantage of it. Winning the first two against who everybody else calls our lowly Miami Marlins, and we know better day in and day out. There are no easy wins against this team. Tell me I'm wrong. You're watching Locked On Marlins postcast. Jim Grieshaber, call me Grease. We're going to look up that 6-run number on the other side and see how many 6-run innings they've had this year. 6-run games, for that matter. We're going to take a look ahead to the homestand. You got the Reds coming in for the opener, and Roddery Munoz has been pitching really well, along with Cabrera for Miami. So I'm looking forward to seeing this different team than the Reds saw for sure last month in Cincinnati. You ever watch that show, WKRP? Yeah. You're watching Locked On Marlins postcast. We're going to hit that on the other side, not the show, the homestand. Jim Grieshaber, call me Grease, at Jim Grease _ Locked On Marlins postcast on the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every single day. And, oh yeah, here we go. You guys know that I love this time of the show every single day. Why is that? Because I get to talk to you about America's number one daily fantasy sports app. Over 5 million active members. Of course, I could only be talking about Prize Picks. It's the easiest and most exciting way to play daily fantasy sports. Unlike other apps, Prize Picks, it's just you against the numbers. And come on, you got to love that. You against the numbers. All you do is pick more or pick less, 2 to 6 stat projections, and watch the winnings roll in, just like the Marlins this weekend, at least the last 2 games. Get in on the daily action with your friends and become part of the Prize Picks community today, because you can win up to 100 times your money, 100x on Prize Picks. As little as 4 correct picks, you can turn $10 into $1,000. Get on the excitement and win up to 100 times your cash with the summer games on Prize Picks. Look at Simone Biles. Look at Team USA men's and women's basketball. Look at Noah Lyles in the sprinting. Katie Ledecky, come on. You could have been doing this, and if you are, you know. If you don't know, now you know. You could be getting in on the action with Prize Picks, creating a lineup with basketball, soccer, tennis, golf, everything you want to do in as little as 60 seconds. Pick more, pick less on 2 to 6 player stats, and you are locked in. If you're looking for promotions, Prize Picks has you covered too. Lowering stats projections on Tuesdays to help your lineup hit, or getting your entry fees back if you have a losing lineup on Fridays. It's available in more than 30 states, including California, Texas, and Georgia. And it is America's number one daily fantasy sports app for many, many reasons, without a doubt. Download the Prize Picks app today and use code LOCKEDONMLB. That's all you have to do. LOCKEDONMLB for a first deposit match up to $100. That's code LOCKEDONMLB, LOCKEDONMLB, on Prize Picks for a direct deposit match up to $100. Pick more, pick less. It's that easy with Prize Picks on the Locked On Podcast Network. All right, so here we are. We're killing it today, guys. Having a great time. Locked On Marlins Postcast, Jim Grieshaber. Call me Grease. And it's been a really good day to be a Marlins fan. I think I just shut something by accident there. Nope, there it is. Okay. All right. 7-0 to score. I told you I was going to look back, and we're going to look ahead to this series without a doubt, and the homestand. And we're going to do that in just a second. But first things first, I Grease. Freaks all the honeys know. But the Reds, 4 games. This is a good young team, the Cincinnati Reds. They are very good. And I was really impressed with that series last month in Cincinnati, the Marlins and Reds. And just the Reds were one of those teams, too, that really having a hard time putting it together and really still are. So when you look at the Cincinnati Reds and you think about what they are as a team, I love Elly De La Cruz, right? You love Elly De La Cruz. Everybody loves Elly De La Cruz. He's one of the most exciting players in the game. He's flashy. He's fun. The Reds don't have a pitcher for tomorrow, by the way, but Jonathan India is a good player. Spencer Steer. I mean, that's a great name for an RBI machine, right? Who leads the league in RBIs? Spencer Steer. I mean, it just sounds right. He's got 20 more RBIs than Jake Burger. Would you rather a Burger or a Steer? I guess a Burger comes from Steer. So anyway, we have that. But the Reds and the Marlins, it's going to be a fun series as the Marlins start to look to getting some guys back off the injured list, and they start to think about what this team's going to look like long term, claiming guys off waivers, and you're seeing the new players coming in, and you're taking a look at their impact. And so far this season, the Reds have beaten the Marlins 2 out of 3, and that was in Cincinnati in July, right before the break, as a matter of fact. And now you got the 4-gamer coming up in Miami. And if you take a look at the standings, and we're going to take a peek at the Marlins' win streaks and run scoring in a minute. Actually, the run scoring is going to be more of our focus here. So here's what we got, right? In the National League, starting in our division, the Phillies are 2-8 in their last 10. The Braves go 6-4, but, man, they're 6 games out. If they'd have done 8, they lose these last 2 to the Marlins. That's why the Braves fans are, oh, my God, they're ticked right now because they'd be 4 games out. They'd be 4 games out. The Mets are only 8 games out. They're right on the Braves' heels, and people think the Mets are going away. I got news for you. That's not happening. Just like the Astros, they gave you guys. They spotted you. You had a head start on the Mets. You had a head start on the Astros. Good luck with that now. Yeah, good luck with that. And watch the Mets mess around and win the division. Don't tell me I didn't say that. Brewers in the Central, 5 games above the Cardinals, 6 above the Pirates, and the Reds have dipped all the way down to 9 games out. They're 5-5 in their last 10. Just a tough run. They were close to the top of the standings, kind of. They could have made a run when the Marlins saw them in July, but not as of right now. It's not looking so good for them there. But when you look at the Dodgers, the Padres, the Diamondbacks in the West, Giants, forget about it. But Padres with that bullpen, it's a 4 to 5 inning game every day. They gave up 12 of their top 15 prospects to build that bullpen, which includes the best closer in the game they just took from Miami and Tanner Scott. And Hoeing, by the way. And then not to mention Luis Ariz in May. They traded him, the best hitter since Tony Gwynn, 340, 2-time batting champ, Twins and Marlins, and they traded him in May. They waved the white flag in May. That's what kind of makes me sick. The one thing that really makes me sick is that trade that early. And then you have the Dodgers, who have been falling apart a little bit, 4-6. No Mookie Betts. Freddie Freeman's had his problems. The whole pitching staff just turned over as they got everybody back. The Padres can't stay healthy in the rotation either, which leaves the Diamondbacks, Josh Bell and A.J. Puck just went there, in a great position in the West and in the wild card. So there you have it. That's a look at, the standings. And when you look at the Marlins this year, I wanted to take a peek for you and tell you how many, let's see, on the schedule, how many 6-run games have they had? Because they had a 6-run inning today and a 7-run game. Okay, so the second half of the season is easy. It just started. You have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 6-run games. Look at that. Look at that. They're 8-6 in the second half, and they have 7 games of 6 runs or more. This is not the same team as it was early in the season. I tell you guys this all the time. Everydayers, you guys know this, right? But in the first part of the season, oh, man. I mean, they lost the first 9 games. They did have a 7-run game there early, but that was it, and it was a loss. It was a 9-7 loss to Pittsburgh. They had a 10-run game on Sunday, April 7th. There's a 6-run game, there's a 6-run game, 1 7-run game. They had 1 12-run game. So my point is they haven't had many 6-run games, let alone 6-run innings. So as I'm looking, I don't see, nope. There's no other 6-run. They had a 5-run inning against the Mets. That was their best besides this one. So there you have it. And that was back in May. And they won the 10-9 game. And they beat Edwin Diaz, who then the Mets said he had a shoulder impingement, but it wasn't a shoulder. The Marlins got right between his ears and messed him up. And they had to get him right. And that was pretty dope because that's what happens when you put pressure on pitchers and you open up big innings by getting the big hit, which Jonah Bride did today. They pushed runs across, just nibbled a little bit. You got a walk, you got a base hit, an infield hit, a fielder's choice, and the one big hit. That's what leads to the big inning. You dink and dunk, and then bam, one big shot. That's what it is, man. That's baseball. And the Marlins got it done today, along with the pitching from Cabrera, who was just filthy. 8 strikeouts, first start of the year. He didn't give up a run. And now you got Munoz, who pitched great his last time out, going tomorrow. And who knows when you get Luzardo and Weathers back. But I'm starting to really like this rotation. It doesn't seem to affect the bullpen, bringing in all these new guys. And 2 straight days in a row, 7 consecutive scoreless innings, 7 2/3, as a matter of fact, from the bullpen, with like 15 strikeouts over the last 2 days. These last 2 games have been dope for the Marlins. These last 2 games have been what you could have seen all year long. These last 2 games have been absolutely fantastic. They stole one 4-3, and then you win one 7-zip. Blow them out on the Sunday, a game the Braves really needed too, and they just don't show up. If I'm doing Locked On Braves postcast right now, they got some splaining to do. But a great win for the Miami Marlins, and we are up against the end of the show. Hope you enjoyed it today, like always, and I really appreciate you. Thanks for dealing with my ugly face. The camera didn't work, and we had to improvise on a couple things today, technically speaking, but we got it done, as we always do here on Locked On Marlins. We'll get the other camera back for you tomorrow for the Red Series, and then guess what? You got some big games coming up for this team. You have some great series. I'm excited to see those things they have coming up next, by the way. Those series at home. Right now with the Reds, 4 games. That's a good team. Going out and see them. And then right after that, 3 with the Pods. You get to see Arise, Tanner Scott, and Hoying. And then Philly comes in for 2. Or no, you go to Philly for 2, and then you go to New York for 3. And then Arizona. So Cincinnati, San Diego, Philly, New York, and Arizona. Brutal. Murderers Row coming up for the new look Miami Marlins. Nothing to play for, no pressure. Go out there and ball so hard. Play spoiler. And I think they have the potential to do that this year to a couple of teams. They're not going to make the playoffs like last year. How many times are you going to go 33-11 or whatever it was in one-run games? It doesn't happen all the time. All right, that's all there is, Fish fans. There is no more. I always do that as a tribute to my guy, Jim Mandich, the Mad Dog, a legend in Miami and one of my greatest mentors. Thank you, Jim, for that. And, of course, the Miami Marlins, a great win today. They give us a lot of excitement day in and day out, don't they? Most of all, I want to thank all of you for being here and making us who we are, which is America's fastest-growing podcast network, the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. I'm Jim Grieshaber. Call me Grease. Locked On Marlins Postcast. Back tomorrow. First pitch, 6:40 Eastern, right after the game. With the Postcast, we will be here. Keep your game tight and your mind right, Fish fans. We're out.